Hello and welcome to today's episode of The Insider, brought to you, as ever, by Vanishing Inc. My guest today was my fifth guest ever on this podcast, and I looked it up, and it was November 2018. The world was a very different place. I'm trying to get into AI, LLM stuff, so I asked Perplexity to write an introduction for you, Ben. You ready? This is Perplexity's introduction for you. Welcome to The Insider, where today we're joined by Ben Seidman, the only magician ever named resident magician at the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Ben has consulted for Chris Angel's Mind Freak, taught Johnny Knoxville magic for Jackass franchise, and performed for celebrities from Christina Aguilera to Robin Williams. He's appeared twice on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, and today we'll discuss his new book, Principles of Destruction, which promises to reveal what many are calling a genuine miracle-level routine. Please welcome Ben Seidman, a true innovator in modern magic.
Thanks, Damian. It's great to be here. It's nice to hear your sweet baritone yet again.
Lovely to see you. How are you, man?
I'm great. I'm amazing. It's so good to see you. This is the first time I've actually seen you on video. We did only audio.
We were back there 2018. It was only audio.
I didn't even really know your race or gender until now. This is exciting.
I'm glad that all that can be cleared up for you. Now, you did mention a little extra credit that wasn't in there. Where have you been recently on a movie location?
Oh, you're talking about the consulting gig, I assume. Yeah, rumor has gotten out. I don't think this is officially announced, but I'm legally allowed to talk about it, I believe. We'll find out. But I was a magic consultant for the new Now You See Me movie, Now You See Me 3. I don't even know what it's called yet, but the third in the franchise of the global box office sensation that, the heist movies with magic, Jesse Eisenberg, Morgan Freeman.
I'm aware of their work.
Yes. So I was in Budapest for 2 months working as a consultant on that, which was a wild experience.
So when you're doing this consultancy stuff for Mind Freak or Swedish TV or Masters of Illusion or The Mentalist or all the other things you've done, what's the creative process? How does the creative process differ from when you're creating magic for you to perform or us mere mortals when you release your effects?
You're very kind. It is different every single time. I mean, my process for myself is much more contained and specific to my own voice. When it comes to consulting on films or TV shows, I mean, it has been, not a single gig has been even close to the same. It's always different objectives. We're always working with different budgets, different types of people. Sometimes I'm designing magic for a magician to perform, and sometimes that magician's very skilled, sometimes they're not. Sometimes, at least in this case, it is actors playing the part of magicians, of course. So, that we forget how difficult magic is. There's so much sleight of hand that is inherent to us because we've been doing this stuff forever. But
Sure.
But yeah, when you're teaching an actor who doesn't have the experience moving their hands in these specific ways or controlling attention, it really has to be bulletproof. And even the things that seem simple to us become very complex in the hands of someone who haven't executed sleight of hand before.
Okay, so when I told my wife that you were coming on, I mentioned the Jackass thing because she's got the hots for Johnny Knoxville, and
Don't we all?
she's only made of flesh, Ben. But I wondered, are you teaching them to do a trick, or are you teaching them to make it look like they can do a trick? Sometimes when there's a musician playing the piano, an actor playing the piano, they're clearly not playing, but they've been taught to make it look like they're playing. What
Sure.
are you doing generally?
Well,
Are you teaching them to blag it?
First of all, in the context of Jackass, Johnny Knoxville happens to love magic, and he likes the idea of putting some magic tricks in the movies. None of the stunts they do use magic methods. Those are all legit and real. So that I feel like I have to put out there. Anytime there's an overtly magical moment, like in Bad Grandpa, for example, he wanted to pull flowers out of his pants, which is, this is purely a comedic character choice, but he was interested in the magic method with it. So yeah, again, none of these stunts that they're doing are fake. These are all real and super dangerous. But when he wanted to do certain pickpocketing moves he was interested in. And in the case of the most recent Jackass film, that he wanted to make milk disappear into a top hat right before he got hit by a bull. So this was a very specific thing, obviously. The bull was all up to them, and my God, he's almost killed himself so many times. So I had nothing to do with that. He just, in this case, I was to design the effect. He was like, I need to make milk disappear. How do I do that? And I was like, oh, well, I can design you a hat. So that, for example, very, very different than the Now You See Me stuff, where we were taking magic that was in the script that was also developed by the script consultants like Jared Kopp, Randy Pitchford, who put this whole thing together, Toby Hallbrooks, Jim Steinmeier, taking some of that and putting it on its feet and changing it around so that it would actually work in the hands of in the hands of the actors. And it's hilarious because the consulting thing, this is like 2% of what I actually do. It's just the credits that sound the most interesting, exciting, because it's like, oh, you got to teach Morgan Freeman a magic trick? Like, that sounds way more exciting. Totally. But this is a very small part of what I actually do in magic. I'm creating magic and performing much more often than the
Okay, so talking of performing, I was interested in the Macau stuff, having listened to Two Magicians, One Mic, and I don't know whether you listened to that during their whole Macau thing. And it was an experience for them. So my question was, because it was 120 shows, which is record breaking according to
you could say too many. Let's go ahead and say that's
okay. It was too many shows there. But did you have to change for the cultural differences of performing in Macau?
Did I have to change when I was
your normal stuff?
Yeah, very, very much. In this case,
when did you know this?
When did I know this?
Like 5 minutes into the first.
The week before, I would say. I had about a week. When I first accepted the gig, I thought I was performing for expats and that I was just going to go and do my normal thing. And then I found out, they're like, oh, where you're performing, no one speaks English. And that's kind of a problem for a guy who talks a lot on stage. So, yeah, I kind of wrote a close-up magic silent act that I did as a street show, really. It was, bizarre. We're talking 5-6 shows a day, 6 days a week. I was performing with my friend Marcus Monroe, incredible stand-up comedian, who in this case was juggling because he can't do stand-up to people who can't understand English. But yeah, that was a very, very strange gig. You're going back, by the way. This was like years ago.
Yeah. Okay, let's bring it right up to recent tricks.
Okay.
So I wanted to talk to you about the Oracle system because I've got a problem with it.
Okay.
We've released for you the Oracle system and permanent record, and we'll talk about permanent record in a minute because they're very vastly different things. But with the Oracle system, for those that don't know, it's essentially kind of an ESP 5-card matching routine, but with tarot cards and some very warm reading thrown in. Fair?
Yeah.
When it came out, I tried it about 3 or 4 times on people, and 3 out of those 4 times people cried.
Great. Good.
It made me feel really weird.
Well,
and I didn't know, like, because the one of the best bits about that release is the download that comes with it, because the talk and the conversations that you have in that about cold reading and the power of it, and warm reading in this case.
Sure.
But okay, so your reaction was cool. You won, but to me, it felt a bit too much. It's like, I don't do readings and psychic-y things. I'm a magician, and it felt too powerful.
I understand. I feel the same way. And it all comes down to how you perform it. You can perform that in such a way that people are moved to tears and that it's very, like, that it's a really serious thing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be performed in that way. This is just, look, the inherent built-in feelings that can come from it can be intense, but if you shift, look, if you do a little paradigm shift here and you approach the performance more lighthearted and even comment on the fact that it's not real at all,
right?
You can approach it from a way that, like, actually it feels much more like light and even comical if you want to. It's all about the direction. Like, I understand why this happened. For example, you are asking people, as you know, but for the listeners who don't perform the effect, you're asking people to think of someone in their life who has some significance to them, and then match that person to one of the tarot cards. You can simply add in and someone from your life who, someone you feel good about, or someone, just, make sure it's someone who's still alive, and someone you don't want to murder. You can throw that in. And just by saying that, suddenly they're like, okay, I'm going to choose a lighter relationship.
We can play now. Yeah.
If you just say, choose someone in your life who's very important to you, and you say that with a lot of intensity, like, yeah, it could get real for sure. Especially if
it really did. In a weird way, man.
Sorry this happened to you.
No, it's not sorry. It's a good thing. All the people that had it happen to them really enjoyed it. It wasn't an unpleasant experience for them. But I'd never felt, I'm 53, Ben, I'd never wielded that amount of power before. And it kind of felt a bit weird.
I understand, man. And this is why what we do should be used very carefully, because
with great power comes great responsibility.
100%, man. Yeah, 100%. But magic can be fun and light. It doesn't always have to be. It just depends on what experience you're trying to deliver for your audience. And I've performed the Oracle system in both directions, where it's been very, very serious, and we've all been crying and hugging each other afterwards. And I've also done it in a someone can't stop laughing sort of way. It just depends on how you as a performer rock it. And Damian, maybe you're just more of a serious person than you thought you were.
I'm not sure. Maybe there's that element, but it's certainly not how I perform normally. Now, in the marketing copy that either Matt or I wrote for the Oracle system, we said that you'd kept it a secret for a decade. I honestly, I don't know whether that's true or not. But if it is, and assuming it is, because we must have got it from somewhere, why did you keep it so close for 10 years, and what made you want to share it with everyone? What makes that thing with a trick that you release that you're like, this is now ready for more people than me?
Yeah, well, I spent many years not releasing anything just because I was purely focused on developing magic and performing it myself. And it wasn't until the Oracle system that I even started toying with the idea of putting some of my ideas out into the world for other magicians to perform if they wanted to. And so part of it was that. The other part of it was the fact that Oracle system is a very serious routine. I mean, it is powerful, whether it's going to be really emotionally impactful or whether you're going to perform it in a more light manner. And I knew that exactly what you said, with great power comes great responsibility. And so I was just careful about it. But then with, more popularity in magic of performing in a style that used more, let's just call them magical thinking type items or ideas, like tarot cards and pendulums and things like that. As that became a little more popular, people like Jared Kopf and Luc Germain and some of these great bizarre performers who
theatrical close-up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, as that sort of permeated into our world a little bit more, it felt more like it was kind of right to release it. And also, usually I only release something if I'm ready to let it go, and also enough magicians and friends and peers have asked me, hey, can I perform this? Can I play with that idea? And I'm just so specific about what I want to share that one, I want it to be ready to go. I don't want to just come up with an idea, perform it a couple of times, and then release it. I want it to be really worked in, so that if someone does buy something I've published, they get an enormous amount of value. Like Permanent Record, for example. Yes, it's a card trick, and it's a cool card trick, but I wanted to deliver ideas within that product that could be applied to many other things. And some of the little Easter eggs on that, if you just listen to the download, are, in my opinion, way more powerful than even the trick by itself. So yeah, I want to make sure that if I'm putting something out, it's really dynamite, because I make a great living as a performer. I don't need to release things. So if I do, I want it to just be awesome.
That's a good mantra for life, isn't it? For anybody that's listening that doesn't know what the plot of Permanent Record, essentially there's a card printed on the back of a bicycle box that changes in their hand into their selected card. Now, when you start playing with an idea like that, what comes first? Are you thinking, I want something to change in their hand? Are you thinking, oh, there's 10 of hearts on the back of a bike deck. What can I do to change that? What was first?
Yeah, I mean, the basic routine was, not only is it the easiest thing I've ever published, like, and it's basically self-working if you want to do just the simplest version. And that is not the case with everything that I create. To the contrary, actually, some of the things especially what I perform in my own show that is unreleased, is actually very hard. And part of that is just because I think that will deliver the impact I want. And also some of it is selfishly so that no one can steal it, because no one else is going to put in the time.
Be bothered to do it.
Yeah.
It's like when I got Parlor Tricks, when Morgan and Wes put that out, I read it and I was like, nobody apart from you two is ever going to do this.
It's a great way to
Doesn't mean you can't learn from the book, though.
Yes, 100%. And I also kind of vowed to, anything that I put out, I want people to actually be able to do. I mean, one of the earlier things I published was a coin vanish called Alchemy that I put out with Theory 11. And that is, I mean, of everything I've published, that is the thing that people come up to me, at magic conventions or whatever and say, I love that trick, and try to do it. There's no way I can do it. And I say, I get it. I understand. Almost no one can do it. But anything that I've published recently, including my upcoming releases, are things that I really feel are within the range of what any magician can perform. Like, if you put in a little bit of time and, you have even basic chops, I want you to be able to do some real miracles, because that's how we share joy with people, right? So I want it to be accessible.
For sure, but then you also build in options. It's almost like the Apple Fitness thing, where you've got the fit guy and then the not so fit guy and the really not so fit guy, and you can follow whoever you need to when you're working out.
Yeah, all of the non-fit guys are magicians, by the way.
100%. He's got his playing card bow tie there and a vest. But with Permanent Record, for example, spoiler, there's a gaff deck that makes forcing really easy, but you also will talk about a way to do it with a regular deck, and so depending on your level, there are options for you.
Yeah, that is my goal, is to make it so that any magician, that any person could learn that trick. And if you are an amateur and you do almost no magic, I want you to be able to perform it. And if you're a worker and you want to add this into your repertoire and you have great chops, here's 5 other options for things that I do with it. Yeah,
because a worker may not want to have one deck that is gaff to force a card. And
I almost never use the gaff deck that it comes with, but I talk to plenty of people who love using it, because they're like, I don't have to think about it. For me, I'm gonna just classic force a card, or in some cases psychologically force a card, and that's like for me, that's way more practical. But I want whoever performs it to be comfortable as well. So I tried to
absolutely. If you're doing it for your friends and family, you don't need to worry about pocket management. You can bring out that deck and kill them with it.
Yeah.
With Penn and Teller twice now, do you have a specific preparation process before you start thinking about what you're going to do for it? Basically, are you actually trying to fool them, or are you thinking of the best routine to do for that vehicle?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Moving on.
Look, as someone who
if you don't want to, it's fine.
I've done that show twice. I have 0 trophies. I'm not mad. I did think that both routines had a pretty good chance of fooling them, and I think one of the two actually did, in my opinion, but this is all subjective, right? So,
of course.
I chose the 2 routines for very different reasons. The first one I did was my handling of Ringwatch Wallet, which has been a closely guarded secret for many years. It fools magicians, it fools lay people. It is in almost every single show I do, whether that is formal close-up, stage, parlor. I've done it on TV. I mean, it's just a real workhorse for me. So I wanted to share that. What did you say?
If only someone would release that.
Yeah, maybe someday. It's possible.
It'd be great.
It's very possible.
It's a good trick.
I'll think about it. So that routine I wanted to put out there because it's pretty bulletproof. as far as rewatching it on video. Right. So it's in my mind, it was safe to do on TV, and also because it had so much stand-up built in, I felt like I would stick out from other magicians, and it would kind of give potential buyers who might be interested in hiring a magician, it would give them a sense of what my show actually looks like, because it was a good,
and it wasn't a card trick.
Yeah, and it was a very good example of what it is like to see me live.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly why I wanted that tape, and that's been very helpful for me. And the other one, completely different. It was this effect that I created for the virtual show during the pandemic, and I genuinely did not even I had no plans to do it on Fool Us. I had no plans to do Fool Us a second time, but I'd come up with this trick, and I was showing some magician friends. Word had spread a little bit, and so a couple heavy hitters had texted me and said, like, yo, what is this thing you're doing? And so I invited a handful of them on Zoom to see me do it, including Teller. I was like, Teller, I came up with this cool trick. You might get a kick out of it. And he wrote back and he was like, oh, don't you dare invite me to this thing. Please come and do it on the show again. And he was really buttering me up, too. I was like, man, you must have had some clunkers on that last season. He was really, really trying. But look, I was honored.
Save us, Ben. Save us.
No. But yeah, it was fun to get to do. And it's really a snapshot in time of what it was like to perform virtually during the pandemic.
Yeah, how times have changed. What excites you? And no, there's more to the question than that, just to clarify.
Thank God. This is G-rated, right?
I know. I realised I paused slightly too long and it was almost uncomfortable.
I'm very uncomfortable, Damian.
I'm British, it's okay. What excites you and or annoys or frustrates you about magic today? You can answer that in any way you wish.
Okay, what excites me and or what annoys me in magic today? I'm going to start with what excites me, and then I'm never going to answer the other one.
Okay, cool.
What excites me is creating new things and putting them up in front of people and delivering that experience. That really excites me. I'm doing this new show that I've been writing in my mind for like 17 years. I was always too busy to really focus on it because it's not the type of show that I could perform at a corporate event or a college or, the things
your
that
regular money makers. Yeah.
Right. This is really a theatrical show. And since I'm semi-known in the magic world, but I'm not properly famous at all. Like I can walk down the street without getting recognized every time. You could bet money all day saying that I'm going to go to the grocery store and no one's going to say, hey, are you Ben Seidman? Once in a while it'll happen, but it's very rare. So I'm not famous, and touring a show like that is hard to make money with if you're not famous or don't have a huge following. So I didn't focus on it, but I've finally gotten to the point where I feel comfortable with the work that I have, that I can turn down shows to focus on writing this show. And that's what I did last year. And I just got it up on its feet. And Damian, this has been, for me, pure joy. It's such a theatrical stretch. It's more of a one-man show than just a commercial magic show, despite the fact that it is funny and magical. And that has been so exciting for me.
And how do you work with something like that? Is that solo, or are you leaning on script writing friends and magical advisement friends?
Great question. Yeah, really great question. I don't think this show would be up on its feet at all if it wasn't for Travis Santel, who's one of my closest friends, an incredible writer. He has a magic background and a mentalist background, but primarily he makes his... he doesn't do magic shows. He makes his living as a writer, writing movies and TV shows, and he writes books as well, but he's tuned into the magic world. Like he's done a lot of work with Apollo Robbins, and he wrote Delgadio an email after he saw In and of Itself, and Delgadio was like, can I put this in the book? Like, just because it was so thoughtful. He's just a brilliant writer. And so Travis, I just vomited all of my ideas at him, and he helped me shape them and actually figure out what the show was about. And he helped me structure it and gave me some killer lines. And I would have done this show if it wasn't for him, but it would have probably been terrible. So I owe a huge debt of gratitude to Travis for helping me get this thing up on its feet. And so
big up Travis.
So he helped in that like structural way. And I also pitched some other ideas to friends, and on Zoom and on the phone, just talked through some things. And then also huge debt of gratitude to Michael Mills, who is an awesome producer, friend, and great magician himself. And he is the one who produced the first run of the shows to get it up on its feet. He started doing shows with Simon Cornell, which is in reality Simon's show. And he toured that a little bit, and then told me that he was interested in working with me. And I said, oh man, I've been writing this show. This is the perfect excuse to actually get mine together. Yeah, exactly.
And so what's happening next with the show? Are there plans for it for this year?
Yeah, so I'm ending what I have set up right now is ending with a month-long run in Chicago at the Rhapsody Theater. And so that is in June. Tickets are on sale now. If anyone is in the Chicago area and wants to see my life's work, it's happening Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all throughout June. And then also in order to sort of prepare myself for each step, I'm doing a 2-week run at Liberty Magic in Pittsburgh, and that starts very soon. That starts in early March. So tickets are on sale for that as well if you're in the Pittsburgh area. And my goal was first to get it up on its feet with these first 2 weekends, and then to get to the next stage in Pittsburgh. And my goal is by the time I'm rocking it in June in Chicago, that it really does feel like a machine, because it is a very ambitious show. It's much more complicated and difficult than what I normally do, which is amazing because what I normally do is still pretty insane.
Yeah,
but this is like another level for a few different reasons. And also my friend Stephen Nicholas, great mentalist. He is hands on the ground with me, helping me out, just like on the tech side of things, because there's so much going on and so many moving parts. So he has been amazing. And Sarah Friedman was stage managing it when we did our first run in Saratoga and in Manchester, New Hampshire. So yeah, it's been a collaborative effort, which is incredible.
Now, Ben, you ready for the segue?
Yes. Is the segue down to what I don't like in magic right now?
No, you said you didn't want to answer that. So
I'll tell you what, I'll answer it really
so what
quickly.
Frustrates you?
What frustrates me?
Or annoys you?
Yeah, I think, look, I care about magic so much. And I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to become famous or increase your numbers on social media. But people who are willing to sacrifice what is actually magical about magic in order to do that, I think irks me. So the content machine requires videos all of the time. The people who want to grow their social media numbers, a lot of these people are exposing magic or just doing a ton of it. And it's not very good. It's not very original. It's all stooged. A lot of it's BS. Some of it flashes. And putting that stuff into the world to me is just like pollution. Like, why wouldn't you want to just hold back and actually only publish videos of things that are good? And if you want to like break something in and grow, do it in front of live audiences. But then again, I'm a dinosaur. The world is changing around me. So that's just my opinion on it. I want to just focus on quality over quantity, but to each their own.
If I was going to do a show later in the year and I wanted a solid 7-minute card routine that involved multiple different kind of aspects of magic and an ending that really would be difficult to beat,
I would do Copperfield flying.
No card trick, no wires.
Sorry.
Is there anything you could? Oh, sorry. Just anything you can recommend, Ben?
I see what you're doing, Damian.
It was good, wasn't it? It was smooth, right?
It was really, really smooth transition. Yeah. I wrote a book.
You wrote a book. I've got it. It's here.
I did it. I wrote a book, and it's a book on one trick for the same reason that I learned to play bass instead of guitar, less strings. Just seemed easier. One trick.
One trick in how many pages?
I don't know.
49. 50.
49. Okay.
50 pages.
That's actually the trick, is that the number of pages slowly increase over time. That's part of the method.
Now, it's a book, but as we've said, it's a trick where, see how I do, a selected card rises from a glass, vanishes, reappears under a participant, and a corner is torn off.
You're already wrong, Damian. You're already wrong.
God,
it's not a selected card. It's not a selected card.
Thought of card.
Boom! There you go.
Okay. Where a thought of card rises from the glass, vanishes, reappears under a participant, and then a corner is torn off, and that corner is transported to the butt pocket of someone in the audience. It is spectacular. I won't tell you who, but 3 members, and we're going to call it, this sounds a bit grandiose, 3 members of the senior management team at Vanishing Inc. are working on it and considering putting it in their show. Frankly, that happens rarely. What inspired the routine?
Oh yeah. So look, this is a high impact piece. I wanted to do something that was completely crazy. I love magic that happens on people's bodies, things that appear inside their pockets or disappear from their pockets, hence all the pickpocketing stuff. This is all very difficult. It's so hard to learn these techniques. And good pocketing, like putting something in someone's pocket without them knowing, very challenging. And it's so situation dependent. Sure. And you also have to get close to them. And I wanted a routine.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, I know, right? I wanted a routine where something could appear in someone's pocket, anyone in the audience, far away from you, and you like just choose someone randomly and something just appears in their pocket without having to do any body loading. So that was the idea from the beginning, because I was doing a lot of body loading, and I still do, but certain circumstances make it very difficult. And I just wanted this effect to be someone thinks of a playing card and it vanishes and appears in someone's pocket in the audience. I just wanted it to be like that absolute madness of an effect. And it just kind of grew and blossomed from that. And the phases just kept coming. And I realized that you could, I guess, spoiler alert, I'll talk a little bit about the method, but I realized you could do these phases that seem so powerful that they must be stooged, but they're not. I realized you could do this if you're layering methods and using a multiple reality principle. So this routine does use dual reality, but it's not just a dual reality. It's 3 different dual realities stacked on top of each other. And that makes it impossible to reconstruct for the audience, completely amazing. And every single person who's living in a slightly different reality than the rest of the audience has this very, very grounded view of what's happening, where they don't feel like they're in on it. They're still fooled very, very badly. And so that's, behind the scenes, you have all of these things working to create this completely impossible miracle.
Dual reality is a part of the big picture, but why do you think some people are scared of it? And what have you done with this release to, because I think you have with me anyway, allayed that fear.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Hey, as long as we're not doing a trick that makes everyone cry, like you're
like I did earlier. Yeah. No, one person is not really crying, but they think they are. That's why.
Yeah.
So why do you think people are scared of it, and what have you done to?
I think people are scared of I think people are scared of what they don't understand, myself included. If there's a method that I can't wrap my head around, of course I'm not going to want to use it, because if I can't understand it, how can I go through the necessary steps that will lead me to the effect? So, first, what I try to do is make the effect itself very simple and straightforward. A spectator looks at a fan of cards after shuffling and examining them, thinks of a card in the deck, and then shuffles them again. And we place the cards into a wine glass. They simply name the card that they saw on the deck, and it rises up. It's like pretty simple, pretty straightforward. right? They then hold on to that card in and amongst a couple of other cards, and it vanishes from their hands. And then when they stand up, it's sitting underneath them, which freaks out the spectator very much. Then I rip off a corner, and they actually tear off the corner themselves so that it's not switched. They're holding on to it. And I take that card and press it into my hand, and it disappears. And then I ask for someone in the audience and look around and have someone raise their hand. And so whoever raises their hand, I point to them and have the card, essentially appear in their pocket. And then the corners are matched up. So, explaining it doesn't sound all that great. You really have to see what the effect looks like. But so to answer your question, long story long, the effect itself is 3 very specific, clear effects. And then the method is actually not that complicated. It's just a couple methods at the same time. But it's not that complex. So I've tried to break it down in such a way that it's actually really easy to learn and hopefully builds your confidence as a performer so that you can actually try it out and understand why it works and how easy it is to essentially perform if you are willing to just take that leap of faith and try using multiple realities.
It's kind of modular, isn't it? Because in the 7-minute video, full performance of it that people get, you're in a parlor situation and you're doing rising card and spoiler, there's a thread. I think most of this trick, and correct me if I'm wrong, let's be real, most of the people listening to this podcast, most of the people that shop at Vanishing Inc. do not have theatrical shows. But I was thinking with this particular routine, if you put the rising card bit to one side, the rest of it would work in a bar with your friends. It would work at Thanksgiving when families came round. There isn't, it's not you don't have to be doing paid shows to do this, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. This is the routine's very practical and very hard hitting and could be done in almost any situation. Now, is it a good trick for 1 or 2 people? It's going to be a lot better for more people, for sure. You really want like a group, but that group could be small. I've done this for like 7 or 8 people at a house party. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a theatrical environment. A lot of the material I develop, I can perform for a handful of people or in front of hundreds of people. And it needs to be versatile because I'm performing in so many different situations. So this is great. Like, yeah, if you don't want to do the rising card, throw a deck of cards in your pocket and like you can do something that hits harder than a normal card trick exponentially. This is not really a card trick, right?
It's the multiplier is vast.
Yeah, it's insane. And yeah, I mean, one of the things that makes me really happy is hearing magicians come up to me after the show. For example, I performed at Blackpool and lectured at Blackpool this last year. I'd never been. And so I did my hour-long show, and then I did an hour-long lecture. And I got to perform this for, however many thousands of magicians were there. And it was awesome just having a room full of people be completely fooled over this effect, but then also explaining the method and have people get so excited because they're like, oh, we can actually do this trick. This is not a pipe dream. This is real. Yeah. So that felt really cool. Like as I write in the book, I'm very protective of my material, but at a certain point I realized if more people have access to something like this, then more people can share that amazement and joy farther than I can spread as an individual person. So I think it's cool to get to put this into the world, and I'm so happy that all of these people who bought the book at Blackpool came up to me or have messaged me and said like, I tried it out, it's insane, I can't believe it works, it's amazing, I'm doing it, and that feels really great because it's like a dude in Ireland and like someone in Sweden. Like it's so cool that this is having a new life because of this book.
That's so cool. What level of performer did you have in mind when creating the book, and what foundational skills do you think someone would need to perform it successfully?
Yeah, really great question. Let me just be upfront and honest here. If you've never performed before, like you've done maybe like one trick and that's it, this is probably not the book for you. I mean, you might enjoy reading it, but you're not going to put this in your show if you don't perform at all. But if you're a hobbyist, this will totally work for you if you do perform for people, even if it's at the pub or for friends. The answer is, when I came up with this, I didn't have a specific performer in mind because I came up with this for myself. Right. So the only performer I had in mind was me
Ben
and
Seidman.
my own level of skill. And this lands this lands pretty like mid to low as far as like skill necessary to perform, in my opinion. But there is some required. For example, like, can you do an Elmsley count? If you can learn an Elmsley count, you can do this trick. It's more about the understanding of the concept than it is about doing like knuckle busting sleight of hand. There really is no knuckle busting sleight of hand. It's within the realm of what I would say most people who are listening to this podcast can already do comfortably.
Absolutely.
And I love that. Like, I love relying on language and ideas as a method above sleight of hand, because then you can pepper in sleights and everything builds on itself. So instead of just trying to fool someone with a move, you're fooling them with an idea. And that is what is really exciting to me.
Yeah. For me, when I read it, there's more to the book than the method and the routine. Beyond the technical method, what philosophical approach to magic do you hope readers take away from it? What do you want people to take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a good example of magicians oftentimes stopping. I'm going to take that again. What do I want people to take from this? I mean, this is such a good example of why we shouldn't stop thinking too soon. You just add a little bit extra time. You just poke it from a different angle. You just look at a problem that you're trying to solve from a different perspective, and suddenly it can blow the whole top right off the thing and make something a million times better. Like, for example, this trick by itself kind of encapsulates my theory on magic, right? Again, now word salad, buddy. This trick by itself really is a perfect example of how I approach method and performance, which is, I want to make something that's very entertaining, but also that like just hurts people's brains. Like, I'm not happy if people are like, wow, that was a cool magic trick. Like, I want to have people like rocking back and forth in the audience because they can't cope with what just happened. That's what I'm trying to achieve. And I think the Principles of Destruction routine really does hit that. There's your pull quote.
There's my pull quote. Thank you. Now, Ben Seidman, last time you were on the show in 2018, we didn't end it in the way we end it now. I listened back to our episode to say, I wonder what his answers to the last 4 questions are, to see whether they've changed. But I didn't even ask you the last 4 questions, so I'm going to now.
Great, I cannot wait. I cannot wait, Damian. I will say before you ask me those questions, this book is hopefully a very fun read. It's an easy read, and the method itself is really achievable. Like, you really can take this and do it. And I hope that people really do. I hope that some of the people listening to this go like, yeah, I've seen what Ben does. I believe that what he would come up with would be good. I'm going to take a chance and buy this thing. I hope that happens because I think people will dig the method and dig performing it. I really do.
And that's the reel for social media. Perfect.
Okay, well, you got lots to choose from. All right,
you're such a pro. Do you know
buddy.
What I asked Matt Zatt, who handles our social media? I sent him the questions and I said, is there any way I should kind of steer him or nudge him to get the good clips for you for socials? And he said, just let Ben be Ben. He'll handle it.
I mean, I hope that works, man. I can be very long-winded. That's the only.
No. It's gone up to like 1 minute 30 seconds now or something. You're allowed to do on a reel. It's fine. Right. 4 quick fire questions. Ready? Favorite pizza topping?
Favorite pizza topping? Well, I don't really eat pizza anymore, so that's
When
a
you
really
did?
tough one. Yeah, when I did. Oh God, I got into this. This is going to be very controversial. I got into this like pineapple and jalapeno kick, which is
Okay.
I know completely absurd to most people, but it was
No,
pretty good.
I have a jar of pineapple and jalapeno relish pickle
Awesome.
in the fridge. Favorite
Awesome.
movie?
Favorite movie? When I
Mm-hmm.
look at my favorite movies, it is just very, very clear when I was a teenager. Like I
John
love
Hughes? What?
my favorite film. Like my answer was always Memento, Christopher
Okay.
Nolan's early film, and I still think that is a phenomenal movie. Um, can I just leave it at that, and that way I don't
Yeah.
have to? It's still a great
Yeah.
movie.
It's still a great movie.
Okay.
Favorite person or people that
Oh,
make
sorry. I'm
music?
supposed to say Now You See Me 3. I'm already in
Oh, yeah.
trouble.
No, yeah, yeah. You're contractually obliged to say that. You don't even
Yeah.
know what it's called. It might not even be called that.
I have no idea how the movie's going to turn out. By the way, we'll find out. I mean, all I know is what we did on the magic side, and the goal was to try to use minimal CGI and actually do a lot of practical magic, which is so difficult, especially
Oh,
because
what
there's
fun.
tons in the movie. But yeah, that was the idea. So we'll figure out how it looks.
Favorite person or people that make music?
For many years, that was Modest Mouse, and I still love them, but I'm on a huge Alt J kick right now. I think they make some of the greatest stuff I've heard in a long time.
I've never heard of either of them.
You don't know Alt J? Dude, you're a terrible Brit.
No.
They're incredible, man.
I'm
They're
53.
really great. I've seen them live multiple times. They're excellent.
Okay, that's my homework. Thank you. No, this is one of my favourite bits of this. Oh, shoot.
That's
on a
the full quote.
tripod.
So that's the reel for Instagram right there.
God damn it. It's on a tripod.
Hey, thanks for tuning into the Vanishing podcast, everybody.
Yeah, Dave's so professional. I'm a bit wonky now, and the camera's too high. Anyway, final
I like how you're like just kind of adjusting yourself, trying to get in frame now.
Final question: who would you rather fight? One massive Andy or 100 tiny Joshuas?
No, I want to fight them both at the same time. One giant Andy and a bunch of tiny Josh Jays, because I feel like I could turn them against each other and just politely walk out myself.
I love how you've thought about that, man.
Oh yeah, that was the only one I was prepared for.
Ben Seidman, your new book, Principles of Destruction, is probably available now, or if not, really, really soon on vanishingmagic.com. Thank you very much. And we'll put links to tickets for the Rhapsody Theatre and the other one in the show notes. But should people want to keep an eye on what you're doing, how should they do that?
I am using Instagram more than any other social media platform. So if people want to DM me there, that is currently the best way to find me, or to see clips of things. If you want to see any of the Vanity Fair videos, those are on YouTube. You can just type in my name and Vanity Fair. And the third one dropped not too long ago. So there's new fun stuff out there.
Ben Seidman, thank you very much for giving us so much of your time. I do appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Damian. You take care.
And you, man.